social media seems to reward weird things. Well, shocking things like that, like slam funk, right? So, but that really is pushing media around now, right now.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I also think social media is such a fraught space now. I think more people are becoming aware of ourselves being the product that those places sell, and maybe not being as willing to provide that content for free.
Welcome to the Red, Green, Blue podcast.
All right, we're here with Brad Barber on the RGB podcast. Please like and subscribe because I always forget to say that, so I'm just going to bust it out and say it now. Anyway, if you hear a slight buzz, unless miracles of sound can remove it, is because I got a bad XLR cable, and despite owning thousands of them, I don't have one here. So that's just the way it's going to be. Anyway, got Brad Barber here, who is a phenomenal filmmaker. He's a documentarian, and he did a project in all 50 states, which I just get tired even thinking about it, but it's on PBS.org. And he did a documentary on every state in the United States, all 50 of them. And he just finished it up, and we're here to talk about that and other work. He also had a documentary called Peace Officer that was on Independent Lens and One Best Doc at South by Southwest. And anyway, so first of all, what was it like? I mean, all 50 states, I mean, just coming up with 50 ideas to do 50 documentaries is hard. What was your process on that?
Yeah. Well, and I should say it's almost done. We've shot all 50, but we're still editing the final 3.
Okay.
So in December, the final episode, the 50th episode will be edited, and then it'll be really done.
Yeah.
But we've been shooting it since 2009, off and on, especially off during the pandemic. But finding the people to feature in each state, we're definitely not looking for the person that's like the quintessential Utahn or Nebraskan or whatever.
Yeah.
I was just looking for people that can talk articulately and maybe somewhat abstractly about how it feels to live there, how it feels to call that place their home, even if they weren't born there, even if they've only lived there a week. And so I looked for people that had some kind of connection to the place. Oftentimes that took the form of like a physical connection. Maybe they did something that was related to the land or the water, or they had some passion in life that led them to be talking about and thinking about the place where they lived.
Yeah.
And so I should say maybe the first 29 episodes were, as you mentioned, broadcast and are still streaming on PBS or PBS.org. A lot of those ended up being people that I already had some sort of personal connection to, either myself or somebody I knew. There was sort of like a referral tree that got me there. Oftentimes, seriously, it might be the only person I knew that lived in that state, and I'd call them and say, "Do you know anyone that could talk to me about these types of things?" And that would lead to a phone call. And then in these last, roughly half, these second 21 episodes, it's been a bit less of that. I've been a little bit more, I guess, confident in cold calling people and just introducing myself, and having PBS be part of the project helped a lot.
Oh yeah, because it gives you, I'm doing this. Yeah. They
saw, there was a little more trust and legitimacy right off the bat, but it still worked the best if I could get some kind of personal referral from someone. For both them and me. I'd rather we know someone in common. That was usually if somebody could talk clearly about, it's kind of an abstract idea, to talk about how you might feel to live in a place, or how living in Utah feels. Not everybody has anything to say about that, but when they do, that's when it was really fun to explore that with them and do these little portraits. Yeah, no, I mean, I think it takes a lot to be aware of your own location. I mean, it takes some perspective. Whereas, like, I remember one time I was in Castle Valley in Moab, which is just this gorgeous valley. And I was talking to some of the locals there, and it's like, wow, this is such a gorgeous valley. And they're like, I guess, because you just don't appreciate it. It's always there. And it was the same way for me growing up with Mount Timpanogos. I had no idea that was an amazing mountain. Yeah. I was just like, oh. Right. And then I started like going other places. I remember when I started graduate school, we went to an amazing mountain. I shouldn't do air quotes, amazing mountain in Scotland. I was like, oh, this is it. Okay. I live 10-minute drive from a way better mountain. Sorry. And we drove 2 hours to get here. So, yeah. It's a beautiful place around here, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It's just amazing.
It's hard to not come back to that conclusion as well as I've traveled all over the country to think about how lucky we are to live here.
Oh gosh, it's just gorgeous. Yeah. No, and now that I've lived out of the country and out of the state for so long, I just can't get over the mountains. I appreciate them. So anyway, but how do you find people who are aware of their own locale, like aware and can articulate, can talk about like Nebraska or Rhode Island or wherever, and not just be like, this is the way it is, right? I mean, have they traveled a lot or just?
Some of them have. Some of my favorites are the ones that can talk about what that transition was like from where they used to live and how they felt like living in, say, Philadelphia. Kind of strangely, I was just thinking about this today. 2 of the people I interviewed used to live in Philadelphia and talk about sort of how much more at home they feel now in these new states or cities where they live. I love hearing about how that transition happens, and in some cases they land somewhere else and they realize, oh, this is so much more me and here in Delaware than Pennsylvania was. I think that's a kind of hard to describe, somewhat ineffable feeling that some people have and can talk about, and I love asking them about that and listening to that. Yeah. And I mean, in a lot, I can't believe I didn't mention this before. A lot of the either final people that I ended up talking to, or at least sort of the road that I started on, came from my number one collaborator, which is the artist Susan Krueger-Barber, who's also my wife.
Well, there you go. That's a convenient thing.
Yeah, I'm very lucky.
Did you disclose that to HR when you started on the project? That you were married to the collaborator?
We're so homegrown. There is no HR in this process.
Yeah, I know. I bet you're like, do you disclose it to PBS? Were they aware that you were sleeping with your co-director? Because there could be a conflict of interest there.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, making me think about it. She has co-directed a lot of these with me. The first half, especially,
really?
A lot of them she ended up co-directing because it might be somebody that she knew and she already had a relationship with and could much more comfortably sort of conduct the interview while I did everything else. Didn't happen quite as much on the second half, but she continued to, be a huge voice of inspiration as we were brainstorming together, like everything.
No, I think that's like a common thing you see with filmmakers is that they'll be married to another sort of artist or someone.
It's really helpful.
And it's really helpful. And I'm partially, and it's a person who's dated artists and people aren't into art and so on. Partially, people who aren't into art, they just get super annoyed with you after a while. Like, why are you talking about this stuff? It doesn't matter. No, yeah, kind of.
That could be a red flag for you too if they think it doesn't matter, right?
Oh yeah, it is. No, it is, because they won't put up with the crap. I mean, like you have to do when you're making stuff. I've actually found the best combo. I mean, I'm glad it worked out for you. It's probably good you're in different mediums or something. But like dating someone in the same medium, not good.
Interesting.
I mean, it can be fine. I usually don't have a problem, but it can be competitive. It can get like competitive. One of the best relationships I've had though is with an artist, and we never talked about art. Like we literally never did, except for when we had shows come up. And now she's one of the biggest artists in England. She's super successful. Anyway, but I found the best combo. Sorry, anyway, we'll talk more about your relationship. But is someone who is like an art docent. So they're into art, but they work not in art. That's a good combo. But anyway, yeah. So you were working with an artist, and she's like a visual artist, right? To be clear on that, has she gotten more into film, just kind of by extension with you, or?
Yeah.
Does she do her own projects or anything?
She does a lot of different things as part of her what you'd call artistic practice. Yeah. She has lots of different media. She works with. Performance is a big one for her. Conceptual art. Yeah. Filmmaking has kind of become a natural, extension of what Sherry does. I wouldn't say it's like her primary thing, but we really like collaborating together. She'll do other things that I maybe might film her doing in a persona or a character for one of her performance pieces. So collaborate on kind of both sides of that. It's been
that's neat. So how does she help you film the movies? Does she work just on pre and post, or does she shoot with you, help you run audio? I don't know.
For the second half, she did come into the field with me a few times and would help me manage everything. Yeah. I don't think she interviewed anyone in the second half. Oh no, except for one, Colorado. She interviewed Sue for the Colorado episode. But she would, brainstorm with me in pre-production. Obviously, I'm talking to her all the time, either on the phone while I'm out in the field, or sometimes she was with me. Yeah. And then in post-production, I'd be showing her cuts, and she was just kind of a constant creative influence. Not so much hands-on with the equipment, in the field, if that was what you're asking, but
Well, no, and that's, I mean, honestly, that's the most important thing is just a feedback you can trust.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's like the unsung hero of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy is his wife, for feedback and for actually screenwriting too, of course, in that case.
Yeah.
But it's
Susan's just got great ideas and sensibility. I'd be racking my brain for weeks about a certain state that I knew I needed to go to. And then in 5 minutes, she'd give me 5 different types of situations or people that were so much more interesting than anything I was thinking of. So I will always credit her.
No, that's awesome.
For a lot of those finding kind of stages, especially.
So did you find is the process of exploring a state and with a person and a story, like what was the difference between when you first started out and when you ended?
That's a good question.
Because that's a big journey from 1 to 50.
Yeah. 2009 to 2025.
So a long period of your own time too, your own life, right?
I'm glad you asked it because I'm trying to, put meaning onto it. It's a large chunk of time. Mm-hmm. And there was a big spectrum of, I think you could say, approaches, especially in those first few years where I was trying to figure out how can I do this logistically, philosophically, ethically.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, it was much more DIY. I didn't have any grants. I didn't have a lot of access to equipment. I was very fortunate. I could access some stuff at the school where I teach, but I would just kind of piggyback on to other trips. If I was going to a state I'd never been to before, I'd bring a camera, and outside of sort of the agenda of other things I had to do, I'd go off for an afternoon and film with somebody and just kind of work it in on my own. And I'd either edit myself or a student would volunteer to work with me.
Yeah.
In the early days, there were times I'd bring a student with me or I'd ask a student to go out and film on their own. Part of that came from a desire to I don't know how much of this you want to hear, but in the early days...
It's a podcast, so you can just go. It's good. That's the nice thing. All the bandwidth is free. So go.
Well, I'll still try to be succinct, but before this series, I did a series called Beehive Stories for our local public television.
And it's for counties, right? It's counties in Utah, right?
Yeah, same idea, but one person every county, all 29 counties of Utah. And in that case, I worked with students, and we would collaborate a bit more on the production end and the pre-production end. We'd come up with subjects or participants. And then sometimes I'd go out in the field with them, but usually I'd kind of send them out as like field producers. They would get the experience of shooting and interviewing, and then we'd work together again in post. So that's how most of Beehive Stories went. And then the beginning of States of America overlapped. Mm-hmm. So we're about halfway done maybe with with Beehive Stories when we did the first episode.
Yeah.
States of America, and I was exploring different ways we could do that. And I thought, well, maybe I'll continue trying to involve my students, given that I'm at this place where people come to Provo from all over the country, all over the world, and they might already know someone in their home state back east or somewhere that I don't have any connection to. And especially if they're from different communities that maybe are different than mine, different backgrounds, different ethnicities, traditions. And I was trying to think of how to do it. And we had some really terrific students volunteer to do that, where in the states where they grew up or had a connection to. And I was very happy with those collaborations. And then that happened a few times in the first few years, off and on, and then for this midway through that, and for sure all of these second half, I found a way to do it that felt a little bit more organic, I guess, where I was the one going out in the field, shooting, editing, interviewing, and then I'd work with students in the edit room. Yeah. And that's worked great. And, there's a conversation I'm sure you're aware of, and your listeners are probably aware of, in documentary filmmaking, where we're trying to be sensitive to what happens in a relationship between storyteller and storytellee, the person that's willing to share their story. I read this great article in documentary.org about what they called extractive filmmaking, which is this really, I think, common practice throughout the last several decades, maybe the entire history of documentary, where people would go to a community for a very limited amount of time, sort of extract, if you will, or mine all the footage and interviews they could, and then leave and not really have any connection to, investment in that community. They'd make their own film, sometimes with the involvement of the people they filmed, oftentimes not at all. Yeah. And then they might profit off that film, and meanwhile the people that they filmed don't. Yeah. And so there's been this interesting dialogue and conversation in the documentary community about maybe different ways to do that, how to revise that, how to improve, how to work more ethically. So that's been on my mind as well. And, it's complicated. Not all of those situations arrive in anyone profiting. There's a certain nonprofit element to it. If you're like this project, primarily thinking of public television in these little short, 5-minute portraits that are never going to be a full, feature-length film or, I think a lot of those conversations revolved around something more in the theatrical hour-and-a-half long space where there might be money or much more viewers involved. But it was an interesting way to think about how to do it. And it's been really, really rewarding. I've tried my best. As you could imagine, I've met all these amazing people from corners of this country that I never would have met otherwise, and have been really humbled to listen to them and to involve them in the post-production process as well. And they've been incredibly gracious and generous with me. Our kind of bottom line, we always try to pull or glean, I guess is a better word, from all these little glimpses of their lives, is we just want to find what's most dignified, decent, and wise about all these people. And as it turns out, every single person that we interviewed has plenty to draw from. Yeah. They're all dignified, decent, and wise. They all have incredible amounts to teach us about their lived experience, their feelings about where they live. And that's really been kind of a North Star.
No, it's true. I mean, people become subjects of documentary. I mean, I think it's an interesting combination of skills, and it all has to be honest, right? And I think it's a problem that happened with documentary early on. I don't know if you saw this. I mean, when I was starting in documentary, reality TV just started kind of becoming a big thing. And it was like everyone wanted to be on reality TV, but they didn't understand the difference. And kind of, yeah. Wow. And so it was like, so people would try to kind of put up a persona, but you really, it has to be, if you're in a documentary, it has to be legit, and because the camera will find out, and you really have to find that person who is very aware of themselves, who is articulate, and has had enough experiences that they have enough depth to remain interesting for a while. And that's a hard person to find.
Yeah.
Honestly, even with this podcast, like I think of like, when I'm thinking of doing it, I'm like, well, who can hold up for an hour-long interview? It's not many people. You'd be surprised. It's less than you think. So, there are a lot of great people, but it's a hard skill to do. And doing a project for 50 states definitely makes you one of them. And be a documentary filmmaker.
I'm feeling the pressure now, Mark.
You're feeling the pressure? I don't know.
How much time is left? Am I still interesting enough?
You'll be interesting enough. I don't know. I mean, honestly, and a lot of people who've worked, anybody's worked in the arts for like 10 or 20 years, it's really kind of that person, because it takes that to survive in the arts. Again, I had no idea. I mean, did you have an idea, like when you're starting out in the arts, like how few people actually last?
Yeah, I feel like I did.
Did you? I didn't get it at all. I mean,
well, I think I had fewer examples of people that did sustain a career than the opposite. I did see that as a real risk. And I mean, for me, fortunately, I knew that education was always going to be a part of my future as well. I knew I wanted to be a professor and have that kind of
stability.
Safety net, stability. And I really enjoy teaching too. I think I feel really strongly about the role that universities play in society, and I'm very proud to be part of one. But it also just seemed like the ideal way to have a balance in life where I'm able to make films and see my family and not, face some of the difficult situations I found myself in before I was a professor, scrapping and, working.
No, it's an inconsistent workflow, highs, lows. Oh gosh, so hard.
Yeah, I'm amazed that people, are able to do a freelance or an independent filmmaking kind of career. We're always inviting people to talk to our students about how they made that path, because nobody does it the same way. I'm sure you've noticed this with the people you've interviewed here. There's not one path. And a lot of times the path goes into a different career, Yeah. It's getting better though. I mean, I feel like a lot of our students, you and I were talking before we started recording, there's a lot more opportunities to make media now than there was when you and I were in college.
Yeah, especially out of main media centers.
Yeah. Right.
Like here in Utah, there's like probably 20 times the media jobs that there were than when we graduated. I mean, the internet has made it so you can be a media. I have clients who have like 8 million followers on TikTok. I mean, crazy. Never thought in a million years like someone running around Provo, Utah could have 8 million anything.
Yeah. I agree.
I mean, 8 million. I mean, that's like as much as a major network TV show back in the day, more than some. I mean,
it's hard to get your mind around it.
It is. Like CNN's average viewership is something like 500,000. So
Things have changed dramatically.
Things have changed. But so in your, what is it? Oh, speaking of which, the Emmys just happened. And isn't it cool how many people, like there's a number of people who were nominated for Emmys who I know. And I thought that was pretty neat. It's a small world, isn't it? It's a really small world. I mean, that goes to my thing. Like, and also to me, it's amazing how stable the cast of characters are to a degree. It's like work with a lot of the same people. But yeah. In fact, one of the Emmy nominees like posted a picture of like all the people who didn't win. And I was like, what a beautiful, he titled the photo, "What a beautiful bunch of losers."
Wow.
But I mean, that's funny. No, I mean, it was a joke, but they're all in on the joke too. But anyway, of course, it's just being honored to be nominated, right? But yeah, so when you started getting distributed on PBS, how did you find like that made your life easier in making it? But also, did it more positive feedback? Like, how did that change the way you edited or anything like that? I guess you probably just pretty much kept it the same. But
I hadn't thought of this before because, to be honest, I don't get a lot of audience feedback. I would love to know what kinds of things people are enjoying, getting hung up on. I was very happy with the distributor for the first half, World Channel, but that's just not, understandably, that's not the type of thing they could provide, especially for a series of short documentaries. I'm just happy to be part of it, And I should say maybe, the rest of the 21 episodes, originally the guy that was at World Channel, Chris Hastings, did verbalize, we'll plan on showing the rest of these when the time comes, when you finish the rest of them. And then he ended up taking a different job at a different network last fall. Yeah. And now there have been these, really severe budget cuts, federal budget cuts to public broadcasting. CPB, Corporation for Public Broadcasting, just folded. I read today something like, I can't remember, 15 to 20% of PBS stations are facing closures. So the future of where the rest of these episodes of States of America will land is in real question. I'm just starting out on the process again of looking for a distribution partner. But to answer your question, when the first 29 got the validation of showing on public television, which is what I always dreamt of for this series, it was really encouraging to see that some of those storytelling, I think, techniques that I was finding must be working okay, for someone for that audience or that network to want to show it to their audience. So I guess it did kind of, after you do 50 of anything, you're going to start to find a way that feels good to do it over and over again. Yeah. And I think that did happen around that time, about halfway through, about the time we got this distribution deal. I felt like the formula was really solidifying to the point where I had to, I have to be careful and make sure it doesn't get too predictable either. But
keeping variety right after 50, you're like, you don't want to repeat yourself. Yeah, the subjects, the type of people that we talk to, and even I've been lucky to work with the same composer, the amazing Micah Dahl Anderson, for all 50. Yeah, we're always conscious of that too. We don't want to do the same types of things every time, but there is a storytelling formula for the amount of time I'm able to spend with these people in the states where they live, the amount of footage that we have, and the workflow that we've kind of developed to put them together. It felt a lot more comfortable around that time. I can't say that it's because I got, certain types of feedback or, reviews. But, when I was delivering those 29 episodes, I think that it's impossible not to connect certain dots when you see that much work together. I've been preparing the latest 18 episodes the last few weeks and doing the same thing and noticing, those are the types of people I gravitated towards this time, or there's in some cases, the types of compositions or framing that I ended up using a lot. I don't know if that answers your question, but do people respond from the state? I mean, I can see in a way you can step on people's toes, right? In Utah, like northern Utah and southern Utah are very different places, and it's almost like different states to a degree. Yeah. So, and every state has regional things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Memphis versus Nashville, whatever.
And
it's big. It's outside you kind of look the same, but from the interior, they're like, no, it's a huge difference. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that I did a series completely set in the state of Utah and examining 29 different versions of our state completely, agrees with your point.
Yeah.
There are cultures and microcultures in all these states. And what I would usually say is to kind of remind people, none of these states are meant to represent none of these episodes are meant to represent the entire state.
Of course, yeah.
There's not one person that's going to perfectly embody what it means to be from that place. It's just a sampling, it's meant to be not indicative of anything larger other than that person's experience. And sometimes you do see, them saying, oh, this is a really typical experience where I live, but often it's not at all what you expect. It can, that's one of my favorite things about documentaries, when it surprises you. Our episode in Washington State, for example, is usually not what people would expect. They might imagine somebody in flannel with sleeve tattoos, or maybe a farmer in the eastern side of the state. But we featured a Sikh man that lived and sort of helped develop this whole Sikh community of berry farmers just south of the Canadian border. And he had also been really instrumental in setting up his temple there with other Sikh people. And that was such a rich experience, getting to know him and this part of Washington that I think most people would never associate with Washington.
Yeah,
that's a really good example of what happens a lot with the series.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So rather than trying to find the quintessential whatever man, like the quintessential mountain man, it's just a fool's errand in a lot of ways.
And it's really freeing too, because you don't have to worry about, is this Washingtonian enough? It just is. It is.
Is he a UW fan or a Washington State fan? I don't know which one's more typical. Darn. Anyway, get in trouble.
You might find this kind of interesting too. This is what I had a brain freeze a second ago, but I just remembered when you're talking about the public television audience, for years I knew this is where I wanted to end up. But being a series of short documentaries in an era, to what we were speaking about before, where there's way more content than anybody really wants or needs.
There's a problem.
A glut, an abundance. It's pretty hard to find someone that wants to collaborate with you. It's hard to find a big entity in television or even streaming that wants to, when there's so much other places audiences can go. And so, without telling you the entire story, I think it is kind of interesting, though, how we landed with World Channel, and that eventually, after several meetings and pitches to various entities around the public television space, I ended up just starting to self-release the episodes. I read this article in Wired magazine they called the freemium model, that if you give something away for free, sometimes that's what builds an audience, or that's what shows its value. And then people kind of start going to it more as its own thing, where you could find it in more traditional market type places, or in this case, I don't know what the right word is, distributors. That's where the distributor might pick something up after it's found its audience. And so it convinced me I should start just trying to connect directly with the audience. And so we built a website, statesfilms.com, and started releasing one per month. And I would just do the very limited I knew about trying to reach people online. But the thing that was more fruitful was I would contact that state's public television station, their NPR station, and say, I just released this little short about this person in your state. Would you consider writing a story about it, or posting it, or sharing it?
Yeah.
And that led to the person that led me to KQED in San Francisco, that was sort of a partner in helping me work with World Channel and get a much broader release. So the freemium thing did kind of work.
No, that's honestly, I think that's a great way to do things now. And even if you're like pitching a project,
unless that they're depending on it for their income. I understand, what it means to be a viral content creator where you are making income from, that social media company. But I think for I'm generalizing here from my understanding, but I think it seems to me that more often when people are putting up their content on social media, they're probably not making money from it. They're probably making money for those social media companies.
No, that's true. That's true.
And those social media companies are showing themselves to have maybe different values than a lot of people in our space that tell, nonfiction stories. Mm-hmm. So, I'm feeling a lot more hesitant about using that to build the audience. At the same time, they kind of have a monopoly on that kind of thing. So I'm still...
I know. I mean, as things shake out, the thing I can't get over is of course, the recent acquisition of Paramount, and it went for $8 billion, which I know is a tremendous amount of money. Don't get me wrong, but the Boston Celtics is worth $6.5 billion. So that means Paramount, one of the biggest studios, is worth almost as much as the Boston Celtics, and it's not like Paramount sold fast for $8 billion, whereas Boston Celtics sold fast. It took, I don't know, the major studios, I don't know. Especially the more artistic stuff really has been subsidized by the major studios kind of wanted to do stuff. They knew they were going to make more money off other things, right?
Yeah.
Werner Herzog wasn't going to be a blockbuster for them. They knew it. Sadly, yeah. But they still did it because it was interesting.
He's still in The Mandalorian, though, so he's making his own blockbuster.
There we go. He needs to make a documentary about that. What it's like to play a space Nazi.
I'd watch that.
With a German accent. Did I do that right? I think I mixed Arnold Schwarzenegger into there. Sorry. I apologize to Werner Herzog. Please forgive me. But, no. Yeah, he is. And it's funny how, when that cameo showed up for anybody in documentary, I was like, what? Is that really him? It took me a while to figure out that, that was actually him.
Enterprising. He's his own. It does seem like he's kind of leaning into the persona that other people, the caricature that we sometimes lovingly say about him. He seems to just kind of be embracing it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think you get a point to your career, and you also get old enough where you're like, well, I'll just do whatever I want because who cares? Yeah, sure. I'll be dead soon anyway.
He's earned it.
He's earned it. Yeah. So, so what are some filmmakers you like, or any new documentaries coming out that you find are interesting, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to this day, I'll always say Ross McElway was continues to be one of my biggest influences.
I remember when you had him come to speak to BYU. Were you behind that?
I was.
That was a great speech. I remember that speech vividly still.
We were very lucky to have him, and I was lucky to get to host him while he was here, and have maintained, some relationship with him since then. And I just saw has a new film coming out. I think it played at Venice or something connected to Venice. So I would watch anything that he makes. I'm blanking on the title now, but it's about his son and the tragic events that have happened around his life. I haven't seen it. Like I said,
it's a new one?
About a brand new one.
Because his other one was about his son, and his face is kind of failure to launch coming of age story, the anti-coming of age. How his son was in his mid-20s, but he felt like wasn't growing up really.
Yeah. He just made that one. It was called Photographic Memory.
Yeah.
I think that might have even been his last feature. Don't quote me on that, but it's been a while and an incredibly personal topic for him. And I really like Gianfranco Rosi. It's kind of a new to me filmmaker. I've only seen one or two of his films. Fire at Sea is kind of his most well-known one. My brother Troy just sent me the name of his new film that's also just appearing at film festivals that's set in Naples. Clouds in the
Naples,
sky.
Florida, or Naples, the country?
Italy.
Naples, Italy.
Talking about the threat of volcanic.
Oh my goodness, how tacky. I did Naples, Florida. Oh, shoot. It's all right.
You're probably...
It's funny. I have a friend from York, and every time she posts on Facebook, York, I just think, oh, yeah, there's New York is like the copy of York. You're actually from York.
New York.
New York. Huh. It's not its own thing. But anyway, with Naples. It's set in Naples, Italy.
I don't know a ton about it yet, but I would watch anything Gianfranco Rosi makes these days. Yeah. He's got a really lyrical eye. I think it's fascinating, his take on using I don't know if he does this with every film, but I remember when he did Fire at Sea, he wrote this op-ed talking about why he just shot in prime lenses, which is hard to do in documentary. In my opinion. And
that's super hard to do in documentary. Does you shallow depth of field too? Because that's the only reason to shoot with prime is you're shooting shallow depth.
Well,
tracking your focus would be like a nightmare.
I'm not going to remember every detail, but another thing that stood out to me about his reasoning was that he tried to land on the lens that looked the most like a human being's sort of peripheral vision or angle of vision. He felt like that was the most honest way to show it, and also to communicate with the people that you're filming how they're going to actually show up. So if you're all the way on the other side of the room, but you're zoomed way into their face like this around their head, he said that maybe isn't quite as honest because they don't know how they're going to come across.
That is an interesting perspective.
But if you're just on one lens and they can always see how close or far away the camera is from them, they have that kind of empowers the person you're filming a little bit more to know what's going on behind the camera.
Oh, interesting. So the subject, he's concerned about what the subject is doing,
right?
Feeling. Oh, interesting. Well, honestly, I feel like, I mean, this is, I think, the power. I think with AI coming out and everything, people are going to get tired of being lied to, and so they're going to want honesty. And so like honesty is going to be the coin of the realm. And so it's going to be like doing things like that, like and you can see it happening in fiction, like one lens, like there's a TV Adolescence, I don't know, they shot with all one lens, one focal length.
That's interesting.
And not using the devices, the camera or stuff to push around the audience, which would have been more, I don't know. I think it's going to get more that way. I don't know where AI is going to take us, but I think people are still people and they don't want to be fooled. And they don't. I think they'll be pushback on the limitation. What you can do with AI will not be the technology; it'll be what people will tolerate.
That's an interesting take.
Yeah. So I can see that influencing. You can already see it influencing. I think like the young kids. I think that's why they're drawn to analog photography, because it's like real. Yeah. It's like it's honest, and this the filter wasn't there. There's a negative, and
there's no green screen. Probably.
No green screen. Yeah. No Snapchat effect or whatever. I don't know. Whatever people do now. So well, that's great. So who's like, I'm trying to think of like documentarians like under the age of 30 that I'm interested in now. I don't know. You think of like any new hotshot documentarians? It's so, because there's so much noise now. It's hard to separate them. I guess if you follow the festival circuit or
I'm a little bit out of the festival circuit, to be honest. After COVID, I stopped going to as many,
I think a lot of people did. I think like Sundance, holy cow. Last year, it was so small.
I heard that.
It was like maybe 1/10 the size it used to be.
Sundance already known for the festival where people go to get the flu, even before COVID. So I think that was a harder sell for people in that way for a while too. Maybe not anymore.
Oh, he was one of the first spreaders, wasn't it? It was kind of. I think so.
Oh, I mean, it was, late January, right?
Like ground zero.
I'm sure it didn't help.
Yeah. The jet set all combined. But even the biggest celeb they had was Jennifer Lopez, which I thought was like a little disappointing.
You're an expert in this area.
I am.
Your feature film, Sundance.
Because of Sundance Skippy, exactly. And Jennifer Lopez, I feel that she just did it. This is my TMZ moment for documentary. I feel she just got into Sundance to get back at Ben Affleck. Because he is, of course, such a built on independent film kind of guy. And so she was like, my ex, she had to flex. Well, here I am. I'm at Sundance now. Where are you? Anyway.
I'll tell you, one of my favorite new filmmakers, he's not, actually, you know what? He might be over 30 now. Yeah. A former student of mine named Kellen Ikegami. Cool. He's part of this group of filmmakers that graduated together, kind of created this unbelievable collaborative setup where they all shared everything and made stuff together and kind of all bore the same costs and the same, income. Kind of amazes me, actually. They're called The Plains, PLI.
Oh, I know them.
You've heard of The Plains.
We're suppliers to them. Brad Finch, yeah. No, I really like him. I gave him one of my books. He was it was neat. I like him a lot.
Kellen just directed this feature documentary called The Streak that as of today, September 9th, it's still playing at the Broadway Cinema up in Salt Lake.
It's on the Salt Lake Seagulls. Baseball team. Trappers, that's it. It's a baseball team. Yeah, I know. I remember that. Like Bill Murray owned it or something.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. It's a great story. They did a great job, and I saw an early screening of it. It's fantastic. Everyone in Utah will love it. I hope lots of people see it. Yeah. And all those guys are super talented.
I just find it amazing they can put these projects together doing short commercial jobs, which is what most people do. But
like they do a lot of that too.
Yeah, they do that too. But you have to for cash flow. Lauren Greenfield, who's like a major, I guess she just finished a docuseries called Social Studies. I used to work for her. Sorry, that's why I bring it up. But Social Studies, she does mostly commercial work. Yeah. And she was nominated for an Emmy for it, actually. And but that's the only way you can do these long form things.
It's another great film I want to put on your radar, or maybe your listeners' radar, related to the planes. Carly Jenkins, together with her husband, Jared Jenkins, they're both part of the plane's crew also.
Yeah.
She directed this incredible short documentary that ended up on POV called American Seams, SEAMS, about these 3 different quilter and craftswomen around the Intermountain West, and just so lyrically, beautifully rendered. It's just a total delight. It's
a quilt, that'd give you good visuals too. I mean, fabric patterns. I don't know.
It's a real
lot you could do with that.
You can watch it online easily.
Yeah.
I think you'd love it.
That's great. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, to me, like, especially documentaries, it's like when we were little young lasses, there was a Panasonic VX100.
I remember that.
And it was a camera we all dreamed about, but it's pretty darn expensive. It was like $7,000. What was it? It was like $3,000. It was a lot.
It was a lot.
Especially for a young
More than I could afford.
More than I could afford. And it was standard definition, but it had pretty good color and had more controls than you could on most camcorders. But now, like, I mean, your iPhone does a way better job than that would ever do. But really, it's just about getting that story, and it's so much easier to edit now. Editing was kind of a chore. You had to have like a really expensive computer. Like, you had to use one of the lab computers. There's no way a student could privately own a computer that could edit. That was just too much.
I want to ask you something about that. I wonder if you have any insight on this, because I hear this, and I say this a lot too. Like, isn't it incredible? Isn't it great usually that anyone can pull out a phone and film something? I think it's great in terms of access. You don't have to have a huge camera. You don't have to be able to rent one. Or maybe you just don't have it with you, and something amazing happens with that person that you're just hanging out with because you have a relationship with them. And then you can pull out your phone and film it. The one thing I think we haven't quite figured out, though, is it's easy to say, oh, just make a movie on your phone. The thing that's, in my opinion, pretty challenging, and I've only made one documentary on a phone where I tried out editing it like on the phone too, on the phone software, is I think they haven't quite figured out how to make it easy enough workflow-wise with just all the footage. Most people's phones don't have that much footage available. So it's hard to record enough content on there, even if you're offloading it every day. That part's a little bit tricky. I think that's probably the bigger impediment, unless you're making just those really, really brief 15-second social media videos. But if you're trying to make like an actual documentary or a feature documentary, that's still a pretty big challenge, I think, is recording and managing that footage on a device that probably doesn't have a ton of space.
It is. That's personally, this is a weird quirk I do. That's why whenever I buy a new iPhone, I always get 1 terabyte of storage.
Okay.
Like, so I just pay the big bucks because I'm just like, I don't want to ever have to worry about that. And now, actually, I mean, again, no, that is, I 100% agree with what you're saying, especially, and they charge so much, Apple, to upgrade to 1 terabyte. You pay like 30% more to do that. But the nice thing about now, too, is that the iPhone can also work as a portable hard drive. And so it makes it easier to offload, and you can use it for file transfers. I've heard
that. I've never seen anyone do it, though.
No, I do it. Yeah, it's a USB-C. It's easy. Okay. Yeah. So, it's workflow-wise, you could do it. But more, it's just all the cameras are so good. I mean, like, you can get like like the cameras we filmed this podcast with are Canon V50s, and there's like $600 cameras, and they're amazing. They're 422 color. They're fantastic. Wow. And they're $500 too. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a thing with technology. I mean, this is
cheaper than all our phones.
Yeah, cheaper than phones. Yeah, no. I mean, I think the thing with iPhones is, like, if you're really shooting, you'll bring the only real advantage I can see to shooting with an iPhone is the incognito aspect of it. Right. Is that you're not like shouting, I'm filming.
That makes sense.
In the smallest way. And in fact, remember the Cheer documentary done by Welty for Netflix.
Greg Whiteley?
Greg Whiteley, that's it. Yeah. Anyway, he's banned from filming the finals. They wouldn't let him. So he just had his team go in with iPhones because they didn't ban iPhones, and they were just spectators. But that's how they got their climactic ending, was just with iPhones. So in a documentary sense, I mean, I think that for access, that would be a good use for it. Yeah. But
and a lot of people probably wouldn't even notice that there was a different camera that happened to be an iPhone when you're watching it too, right? Going back and forth.
Oh, you didn't? No.
Maybe
I don't think anybody.
Filmmakers, maybe, but general audiences, they're probably not going to even notice.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that. But to me, the problem with the accessibility of technology in filmmaking is that it's kind of like, to me, it's weirdly easier to make a film than it is to write. I mean, I like writing, don't get me wrong. But like, it's just like with film, you're kind of fighting the limitations, but you're working with limitations, and limitations kind of guide you. Like in a documentary, the limitation of your subject, like you maybe went in with one idea of how the documentary would go, but it goes another direction. But that may be better than what you originally intended.
For sure.
And but when you're, and even the equipment kind of guides that. I think like young filmmakers are often wishing like, well, if I only had this lens kit I saw and read about American cinematography that will cost $500,000, then I'd be great, but it's not.
Right.
So you just kind of take what you get and you work with your limitations, and that can be the best thing that happens to you. But the difference is like when you're writing, you don't have any limitations. It's really the only thing stopping you from writing Hamlet or whatever. I mean, the greatest work ever is you. That's it. Like you have the same technology, same capabilities as like the greatest writers in the world. And so in a way you don't have any limitations, and that's like kind of terrifying and kind of makes it, I think, difficult for people to progress, or at least for me, rather than working with the limitations within film. And it's fun. I don't know. I love the limitations. I mean, I just love it. I mean, just honestly, the weirdest thing is like, even though I own a rental company, like when I'm shooting personally, I'll just be like, I'll just be like, yeah, I'll just use this. I don't like really use any of my rental gear.
You're not using all the top highest end stuff.
No. We have lens kits that cost like $200,000. I've never used them. They're too big and heavy for the way I work. I mean, I can see why other people would use them. I mean, please rent them. But it's like, I'm not gonna, I mean, for me, it's just way too big and heavy. I like to move as quickly as possible. Like,
me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. And I think having some limitations, I mean, this isn't a new idea, right? There's tons of great quotes about how the absence of any kind of restrictions is the enemy of art.
Yeah.
So I totally believe that as well.
Yeah. So, we're probably winding up on time now, but what cameras did you shoot this project in?
Do you want the whole?
No, I guess it's probably multiple cameras, especially over a decade and a half.
Well, I think you mentioned, if not this one, its cousin. We did start with a Panasonic HVX 1000 or 2000. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think that's a high def version of the HVX that was when we were like students.
I want to say it was even the one you could shoot on these big proprietary cards or mini DV tapes.
Oh, the P2 cards?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the P2 cards. That's right. I forgot what it was called. Yeah. We started with those. I shot on the Canon XF300 back in the day, the Canon 5D Mark III for a while. That's what we shot Peace Officer on, and shot a few States episodes with that too. And then, but most of this new batch of episodes I'm about to release were shot with the Canon C200. Yeah. I think might have been the same camera you and I were talking about last time we talked, because I think I'd just gotten it. We're just thinking about getting it. So it's been many years. Oh,
C200. You've been using that whole time? Well, that's a wonderful camera. It's a very versatile camera.
It is, for me.
And a great form factor too.
That was a big part of it. I understand. I'm not a big gearhead. I can't really get into the X's and O's of why this type of sensor is better than the other. For me, it comes down to a lot about form factor. How small can I make it? Can I plug in XLRs so that the sound is coming into the same SD card as the picture, and then quickly watch those dailies in my hotel room that night? I don't want to have a huge, complicated process. I'm usually shooting alone, maybe with one other person. I don't have like a crew of people or a DIT team. They're going to manage all that stuff. So if that means I lose a little bit of picture quality, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah.
Because I just the ease of use, the smallness, and the whole like simplicity of the workflow for me was just pretty ideal. So I've used that for many years now. Yeah,
I think like you can feel like equipment can get in your way as much as it can help you. I mean, so, and that's why keeping them lean is sometimes, especially if you don't have the people to carry things around and so on, or even in post. I remember like when I was shooting, I shot a short and someone was helping me as in air quotes. He's like, no, you gotta do it this way and this way. And then I have in post, I was like, shoot, I have to match all these audio files up with the video.
Right.
I was like, that's so much work. I do not want to do that. But again, like if you have somebody whose whole job is just to do that, do that. But shoot reference audio. And I'm like so mad that we didn't shoot reference audio.
What camera did you use to shoot Sundance Skippy?
Oh, that's a good question. It was Sony EX3, if I remember right.
Oh, was that a camcorder style?
It was kind of it was like a bigger, like there's the EX1, which is like, where's the EX1? There's one that kind of like looks more like broadcast newsy, but this one is like straight. It didn't like arc, but it was still like that, and it's recorded. It's a big advantage. It filmed on solid state drives, which is a big deal at the time, and they were really expensive because they tried to make money off those back in the day. And but that was really great. And again, it was light, and I could offload footage quickly because I had the solid state drive, so that was nice.
You were probably working by yourself a lot on that too?
100%. In fact, in the end, the closing credits, there's a picture of me and the two subjects. That was it. That was it. And it was a blast. I mean, I don't know. I really like working that way, particularly in documentary. Because if you bring like even a sound guy, it's going to influence what happens, right? I can see why people use a sound guy. But like, if like it's a subject, you and a sound guy, all of a sudden you're more dominant than the subject in some ways.
The numbers add up.
It adds up fast. Yeah. So just lob, and you want to, like, my whole goal, I mean, even with documentary photography, is to fatigue the subject to the point where they just forget I'm there. Like I really feel like people are bad actors. And so you want them to like drop whatever persona they have around it when a camera's pointed at them. And again, the more people you have, the harder for that is to go away. Yeah. When someone new comes into the frame, it's hard for it to go away again. It's like you're like this production, right?
Totally agree. With all respect and love to my many dedicated sound operators, sound mixers.
Love you all.
Incredibly difficult.
Time and a place.
Job.
Yeah.
But I think similar to you, maybe I have a really similar philosophy that anytime somebody's holding a boom mic like this, that's a huge hurdle to get over for the person. And maybe at some point they do. At some point they might forget about it. In my mind, it just seems like okay, maybe they start to get used to it, but then everybody else around is going to be noticing and looking, and that's going to also influence the person and how they're maybe behaving. So, I love just doing it all in one little
If you're doing a documentary on Ben Affleck, it's not going to faze him. But but just normal people, it'll throw them. I mean, for me, the way I do sound and the way I did sound on Sundance Skipping, I think it's a fantastic way, is you have a lav mic on your subject and then you have a shotgun mic on camera. And they're both recording to separate channels. Yeah. And then you can kind of switch. If you need a mix, you can switch them up a bit, or you can even just eliminate one of the channels. Is that what you do?
That's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What shotgun mic do you use on camera?
Oh, it's a small Rode. No, it's a small Sennheiser. Again, intentionally, I went for the shortest, smallest, most compact I could to just put on top of the camera. It doesn't stick way out. It's like, I don't think it even
extends. So it's not a 416.
I can't remember what the model number is, but it's a solid, it has an XLR out. Yeah. It doesn't have like a mini jack. It's a real shotgun mic. It's just a really small one.
Sennheiser?
Yeah.
I bet it's an Emmy-nominated. I bet it is. I mean, I hope I'm not getting that name wrong, but there's one on that. But coincidentally, I'm totally, in fact, you probably don't remember this. When I was first getting into film, I asked you, what's a good mic? And then you kind of rolled your eyes like, that's actually a bigger question than you probably know. And you can get in the weeds on this a lot. And it's true. To me, it's amazing how much long people can talk about mics. It's similar about cinematography.
Oh, yeah.
But what you told me was, it's hard to go wrong with Sennheiser.
Sure.
And it's true. Their whole product line is pretty solid. If you're using a Sennheiser mic, it's a good mic. They don't have a bad one in the whole product. Yeah. Maybe one I can sort of think of, but even that, it's still great value for how much it costs.
That's what I do for my wireless lavs too.
Yeah.
Still.
Sennheiser lavs. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to remember this model number either, but when they released the receiver that did not have to have AA batteries, but instead had a rechargeable little battery, and you just plug the whole thing into an XLR rather than having to mount it on top of the camera or on the side.
Oh, yeah,
that was a miracle. That thing has been so great. So much smaller, lighter. Yeah. You just recharge it all the time. You're not having to go through batteries all the time.
Yeah, no, and that's a big, especially when you're just shooting with one camera, it frees up that hot shoe to have a light on it or something.
Yeah.
Sundance Skippy, that was a big issue for me too.
I bet you in Sundance Skippy, I'm curious if it helped you or hindered you, because with the camera setup that you described, I bet you looked like lots of other people on Main Street that were there from television, web streaming, or maybe just publicity people that the production came with. You go down Main Street in Park City, at least back in the day.
Oh, yeah. There'd be
every
lots
other
of people.
person had a camera like that.
Yeah.
Did that help you kind of blend in, or did that create that extra layer of kind of performance. Well, the guy that you were filming, though, already had such a persona.
All the attention's on him. Because of the way he dresses.
Probably didn't phase it. Maybe he liked it more, that it looked even more official.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I got to tell you, probably the biggest influence it had is, especially I'd worked as a documentary photographer for a long point. And you forget this. It's probably something you don't even realize. When you're around equipment a lot and you're around a camera, it's a very fluid part of your body. You don't fumble with it. You can see the difference between someone who's shot for a while and then someone who's just starting out. And actually, probably the biggest thing that the general audience, they didn't know anything. I got to tell you, the actors, I've been with Skippy, seen Skippy work. Anyway, the actors always knew who I was. And they're like, and they talked with him more, and they were nicer.
You were making a film about Skippy.
Well, not really that. Well, yeah, we did have Marissa Tomei and a few others remember us from the previous year, but primarily they just would spend more time with him because they're like, oh, they could see that I was a real camera guy, and they're like, oh, this could be, and they could also, I think this is their business, right? They could see that, oh, this is maybe an interesting subject. And so particularly Billy Bob Thornton and a number of actors definitely spent more time with him than I think they would have. And I feel that's the biggest influence I had, honestly, was just really kind of me with more pro-looking camera, moving like a filmmaker, and stuff.
Yeah.
So the actors really responded to it. But as far as just general people on the street, I was just invisible. Again, because there's HBO crews walking around stuff. There's people who are way louder. Way bigger than production I am. And again, there are documentarians who do this and afford it. But showing up to a shoot with a 3-ton truck and stuff, I just can't imagine coordinating that.
I know.
It's just exhausting.
I don't ever want to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. But Werner Herzog, a lot of people work very light. And I think that's a nice thing about, again, the medium. Again, as far as tools, really, if you have a camera, you can make the greatest documentary ever in some ways. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll wrap it up here. But is there anything else you feel like we didn't cover or you want to talk about? Or
Sure. Maybe one last thing.
Yeah, go ahead. You can take all the time we want. We were just, what do you want to talk about? It could be a long subject. Be I want to thank my mom. Anyway.
I would never pass up a chance to thank my mom.
There we go.
Speaking of those unpredictable careers, my parents were always unbelievably supportive, so I will thank them every chance I get. The thing I thought could be interesting to talk about for a second is, and I'm still trying to get my head around it, to be honest, I see our conversation today as I'm grateful for the chance to try to figure it out, because I'm still trying to figure out what I don't know if answer is even the right word, what the idea is that is tying all of these stories together, other than the obvious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is an interesting time capsule of our country between 2009 and 2025.
That's true.
And I'm imagining people are listening to this might be curious, well, what did you notice about Americans in these years?
Our country changed a lot during that time, I feel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Is there a common thread? What kind of themes came out? And I thought of just one or two things so far, and this is a totally incomplete list. I'm probably going to, I hope this list or this idea continues to evolve. But so far, I have seen a common thread of people finding ways to be hopeful and joyful, even in the midst of difficulty. Sometimes that's because of the direct environment where they live, like I mentioned, the land, the sea, the air.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's in the community that they either created themselves or they've sort of found. And it's been incredibly inspiring to watch them and listen to them share these things that bring them meaning, and not just, despondency and disconnection and mistrust, which is what, we kind of are paying so much attention to now in our country. There's so much unbelievable goodness, in people of all stripes. It's a very apolitical series. This isn't a film series with a
of course, yeah.
There's no political perspective. There's no, it's not that type of series. It's, and yet in 2025, listening to people that might be different than you kind of has become an inherently political act, I think. So that's what I've noticed so far. I'm not ready to say everything's going to be great. We just got to listen to each other. But there is, I think, maybe more hope than a lot of us might realize. I spent a lot of time, with 50 different people. That's a tiny, tiny subset of the country, and I'm sure there's my own biases that are feeding into why I chose those people. Of course there are, there's things that I gravitate towards, but I found all of them incredibly likable and relatable, and you found yourself really growing to love them. The students I'd work with that would edit these episodes, without even meeting them in person like I had, they would start to grow really affectionate and almost like protective of the people whose stories we were trying to, as the late Michael Rabiger said, midwife these eloquent stories from. And then oftentimes I would get to introduce them to my students over Zoom at the end of the semester, and they'd get to meet the person. And it just, in every case, it was this incredibly uplifting situation where you find common ground in places you might not expect it. When I went back to my state of Tennessee, where I grew up most of my childhood, I didn't expect to find someone that I had that much in common with, because I always felt a little bit alienated, didn't feel like I ever quite belonged where I grew up. And it helped me realize this common, thing between people that live there, that might see some things about family and heritage and even faith, even with not being from the same faith. I was surprised how rewarding that experience was. So I'm hoping people that watch States of America get a little bit of that dose of commonality and the good feeling that can come from just listening to other people that are different than you.
No, it's true. I mean, and that's of course, one of the wonderful things about documentary is listening to people who are different than you. And, and also how much we have in common, how you can learn something from a Sikh guy in Washington State. So, no, that's really great. I mean, I think it's just amazing you've done this body of work. I hope people check it out on pbs.org. And I just can't imagine, what experience this is. To me, and I don't think subjects ever realize this, editing and going through the process with the subject you filmed, you really feel like they're your friend by the end. And I don't know if on the filmmaker end, it's maybe stronger than on the subject end, but it's you really spend you really feel like you like and know these people because you spend so much time around them.
It's pretty magical.
Yeah, it's pretty magical. I mean, honestly, it's just a privilege to be able to do it. But anyway, thank you so much for meeting with me, and this was a great discussion. So.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks a lot, Brad. Again, like and subscribe. We're doing great. We got 80,000 viewers a month more, and we have an incredible retention rate on our interviews. I'm always amazed. Usually some interviews is around 60% retention, some are 30, but we have a tremendous, I'm amazed that you guys watch these to the end. I mean, that's fantastic. Again, I think it says something about the podcast medium and people in general, that they'll do that. So anyway, but please like and subscribe, because we definitely notice, me and my assistant, makes us happy when it happens. So please do. Okay. Thanks a lot, Brad. We'll see you later.